Right. Hello everyone. I'm going to unmute everyone so I can hear everybody now. Okay. So now, quick one. I'd like everybody to say something so I can be sure that you're hearing me. So we have a number of people that have joined the session right now, so that's good enough for us to proceed with the session. All right. So please, can you hear me at all?
Yeah.
Yes, I can.
Good. All right. So what's going to happen is I'm going to put everyone on mute. Okay. And if you need to say something, maybe you're lost, you can raise your hand. I hope you've seen that icon where you can raise your hand.
Yeah.
Good. You can test it out if you want to raise your hand so I can know you want to say something or you're lost or something. Good. I can see Femi is raising his hand. I can see Gabriel Delaco has risen his hand. Okay, good. Right. And I believe everybody can see my screen as well. The big question. Can you see the big question?
Yeah.
Good. Right. Okay, so let's get started. So everyone is going on mute now. I'm muting everyone now, and here we go. Okay, so the big question is, why am I here? Why am I here? That's the question which, you know, I would want everyone to ponder over after some time. You know, there's a reason why you're in this session at this point in time of our lives, and it will make a lot of sense if at some point during the course of this training, even after the course of this training, if we can reflect back onto this question and ask ourselves, why am I here? Why did I get here? You know, am I lost? Am I confused? Am I unsure? Am I unclear? Perplexed, disoriented, bewildered? There are so many reasons why people come to sessions like this. Okay, you know the reason why you're here, and I want you to get the best out of this training. I want you to write down that reason somewhere and reflect back to it at some point. Okay, now for me, the reason why you're here is experience. You want to gain experience. Okay, you want to gain experience, not just in terms of knowledge, not just in terms of the IT world, you know, as we speak, but you want to have some kind of experience added onto the experiences you already have, right? That is one of the major reasons why you're here. And we want to make sure we try as much as we can to give you that experience, give you an experience that you will remember for a very, very long time. Okay, this experience we're talking about is captured in so many things. You want knowledge, you want information, you want so many things. At the end of the day, they all form to be an experience for you. Okay, now the instructor, my name is Dario from Lio. That's my name, and I'm a Microsoft Certified Solutions Associate, and that's pretty much that you would know about me at the moment. Okay, so I am a database professional focused on Microsoft technology, and I'm going to be your instructor today and for the rest of the period in which we will be on this journey. Right. Why should I listen to you? I'm Microsoft certified. That's my MC number right there. If you need to clarify that, you can pick it up and do some more research. Why should I listen to you? I'm experienced. I have confidence that I can give you knowledge. I can pass on knowledge onto you. that will add so much value onto your lives. Why should I listen to you? Because there are testimonials. There are people who have gone through this same process and have good things to say about this training, about the whole experience that they got eventually. Why should I listen to you? Because I have been in your situation, and that's the fact. I have been at a point where I knew nothing about IT. I knew nothing about databases, and over time I went through the learning curve. I went through the experience. I went through a lot of things to get to the position in which I am today, to pass on my knowledge onto other people. So I think these four things are enough for you to listen to what I have to say to you, are enough to get yourself prepared to listen to me. Okay, now we're going gradually into the main things. Now, you're here today because we want to show you another side to your current career. We want to show you that there is another career path in which you can start to follow. This is a beginner's class, so I am teaching and talking with the expectation that people on this course right now have no knowledge whatsoever about what SQL means, or about what IT means, or about what databases mean. This is a platform for people who are coming here from scratch, okay? And we want to be able to give you as much information as possible. Now, there are a number of career paths in which you can follow as a result of going through this training exercise. All right. Now, number one of them is SQL Data Analyst. And with time, I would explain what each of these people do and how you can decide which area you would like to focus on, because there is specialization in this profession. And for your information, I have knowledge in all these things. Okay, today I work as an SQL database administrator. That is the current job that I am doing. I work as a database administrator. But before you can get to a point where you become a database administrator, you must have at some point worked as a data analyst. You must have knowledge about business intelligence, and as well development in databases. So database administration is like the ultimate. Okay, so but you can choose which of the career paths you want to go. They are all promising career paths. That's the good thing. Whichever one you decide to go with is good. Okay, it's just a matter of choice. Some people just follow data analyst instead of database development, not because they are inferior to the other. It's just a matter of interest, because they all have their peculiar things that they do, on a day-to-day basis. All right. So as an SQL data analyst or business intelligence analyst, because you see these two used interchangeably a lot, but there's a wide range of differences between them at the same time. But as a data analyst, there are a number of expectations that your company will have of you. You help them in terms of visualization of their data. You want to prepare dashboards. You want to use tools that can help transform your company's data into information. A lot of things, that are attached to being an SQL data analyst. Going forward to SQL Business Intelligence. Now, this has a broader expectation in comparison to data analyst, because the question will be, how did the data get there? I'm talking about the data that you as a data analyst would use to transform into information. The question will be, for a business intelligence analyst, will be, how did I get there? And the business intelligence analyst is responsible for these kinds of things. So we'll be talking about data warehouse development, where you transform a transactional database system into a data warehouse in which you can keep historical data and use it to make a lot of information, gather a lot of insight into how your company is doing and things like that. And talking about database developer as well, a developer, as it sounds, develops database. Okay, so there are so many other areas in which you can specialize apart from these ones that I have listed out. So for example, there is the solution architect. Somebody can decide to be a solutions architect, and that person would, typically, as the word sounds, solutions architect, you are going to be the architect to provide solutions for a company, as far as their data is concerned. So if it's a company that has a lot of big data, we're talking about providing solutions to put all their data together as one piece of solution. Then there is another area which is a database architect. You see, so there are so many areas in which you can, play around with and decide at the end of the day that this is what you want to do. Right. So like I said earlier on, SQL database administrator responsibility, primary responsibility, amongst other things, is to deploy database solutions to a company. So say, for example, they need somebody to prepare the environment for them. Somebody needs to configure the environment, install the tools that are needed to help the developers in terms of architecting the structure of the database. In terms of performance tuning, there are problems with the databases. Who steps in to troubleshoot, to improve the performance? Who sets the standard in terms of best practices? These are the kinds of things that SQL database administrator do, amongst so many other things. Right. We'll take a step further. Now, what are the opportunities ahead? I believe I sent an email out to every one of us with links to the kinds of opportunities that are out there. But I would like to say a few things on that, in the sense that, you see, this is a promising career that there are less skilled people out there. Okay, I'm not saying that the road is going to be smooth. I'm not saying that the road is going to be all rosy and easy. What we are here to do is to simplify the learning curve, to simplify the process. There are so many concepts, so many ideas, so many things, so many terminologies, abbreviations that you will come across. We don't want all these things to overwhelm you and make it daunting to you. What we want to do, what we're here to do as 3X Point as a company, is to simplify all these concepts to you and make the learning more easier. Right? Now, the opportunities ahead that I'm talking about, if you go online and you can try this thing that I'm about to say. Try and watch a particular job posting. Okay, you'll be shocked and surprised that one advert can be out there for 6 months. And the reason for that is there are less skilled people out there that can fill these positions. So why not fill that position? Why not fill that space? Why not fill that gap? I don't know what you're currently doing in what you're doing, but the reason why you're listening to me at this point right now is because you want something better. So why are you doing what you're doing right now when there is a space somewhere waiting for people to fill it up? Okay? And if you look at the figures in terms of, I don't want this to be the driving force to want to study this. Okay, I don't want this to be the driving force to say, oh, I want to become an SQL analyst or whatever. But the truth remains that the figure is high. You stand the chance of earning a lot of, money. I don't want money to be your driving force, but at the same time, it's the fact. It's the truth. Okay, so these are the opportunities ahead that I want you to start looking at, and as well to start putting your mindset towards, because trust me, it is not a smooth sailing ride. Yes, it is not, but it is possible. And that's why I'm here. That's why you're listening to me. I am making a promise. 3X Point as a company is making a promise that we will simplify the learning process for you and we'll make it easy for you. We have support. If you have problems, we want to listen to your problems. We want to help you out. We want to guide you. We want to hold you by the hand. And part of our strategy is to build people, empower people. And these people that we're empowering, will use them as well to empower other people. So by the time you get to the expert stage, it's optional. We want you to also come back and help other people that are starting off at the beginner stage. So that's our strategy. That's what we're trying to do. All right. So let's move a step ahead. Who is this program for? That is a big question. And the reason I am saying all these things is to prepare your mind. All right. We need to prepare your mind. Okay. Number one, ambition. We want somebody who is ambitious. We want people who has ambition in their head to say, I want to achieve this. I want to do this. We want people who have passion. Now, passion is something that is broad. Passion can be viewed from different angles. Okay. I'm not saying passion for, when it's actually an easy thing to say, oh, why do you do your job? Oh, I have passion for it. That's not what I'm saying here. The passion we're talking about is somebody who does not relent even when there are problems. Somebody who thinks about what they are trying to achieve, who's constantly thinking about their ambition. I know you may have ambition in other areas. I know you may currently be involved in so many things you're doing on the side, but you need to start weighing your options and say, okay, if I have the opportunity to get something better, why not start pouring all my attention into it? Because let me tell you what, the way you can get the best out of this is to put your mind to it. If you don't put your mind to it, it's going to be difficult for you to get the best out of it. So we need you to put your mind into it. We need you to be concerned about your assignment, the tasks that are being given to you, the projects that have been given to you. You need to start thinking about them. All right. So these are the things that we expect for people who come onto this program. Now, attention to detail. This is a profession that requires people to have extreme attention to detail. There are too much detail that you need to place attention on. Otherwise, you can miss things out. Now, we're not looking for perfect people. We're not looking for people who are perfect. What we're looking for is people who have that attention to detail. Once you are able to put all these things together, then you don't have a problem. Now you will notice that we have patience, 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 and that's true because we want you to be patient. That's just it. You need to be patient because there is a journey. It's a journey. There's a goal, and you can't go from 1 and jump to 10. Otherwise, you miss out a lot of things. All right. So you need to be really, really patient and follow the course. Some people would have already known certain things before they joined this class. Some people already know things, okay? But we want you to calm down and be patient. Patient. Don't don't think you know more than what we are currently giving you, because we are gradually going to get to that stage where we will get to things you don't know. All right. So if you know about SQL, for example, maybe partially, you know certain things about IT or databases, we just want you to be patient and wait till we get to the point where things become more complex and we start dealing with them amicably. All right. Now, there are misconceptions about this program. Now, we've trained people in the past and we realized that when they come on board, they initially have a different kind of mentality. They have a different kind of expectations. And when they get in, they find out that it's not what they were expecting that they get. I'm not saying this in terms of negativity, okay? We're just trying to clear the air here. Now, the first thing is, it is not a school, but a program. We don't give out certifications. Some people would ask me, oh, do you give certificates after the training? No, we don't. The first thing is certifications, be it Microsoft certification or any certification for that matter, does not really matter in this profession. I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but I'm saying it does not really matter. You can succeed without certifications in this industry. I know people out there who've had years, many years of experience and not one certification, and they are experts in this field. What is most important in this field is experience. People want to employ you because they believe you've done things before, things they want you to come and do. They believe you've done it before. That's why they want to employ you, not because you read to pass an exam. So we need to clear this out. Okay? Now, we offer opportunities to gain real-world experience. That's what we're doing. We want to give you that opportunity to get real-world experience. By the time we go in deeper into the course, you understand more of what I'm saying. Some people will take books and study for certifications and do things and still find it difficult by the time they get their first job. Why? Because they have not done things that they do in the real world. They're two different things entirely. They are different. I'll give you a story about my own experience when I was still starting out way back. Now, I had studied, I had prepared, I had, made myself available in terms of certifications. I passed certifications, I did all that, but I didn't have real world experience then. Okay. Now, when I started the job, I was asked to log into a server. And guess what? I didn't know how to log into the server. Now, no book is going to train you on that. No book is going to teach you how to log onto a server. Now, log into a server can sound easy, isn't it, just to put your username and password? But sometimes you may be faced with situations where you have to do it through a command prompt. You need to write a simple syntax to be able to do that. Okay, so these are the kind of things we want to show you, so that you don't see unnecessary surprises by the time you get that job, by the time you see, you get to that job. Okay, so ultimately we help you to get to your destination. We provide training materials for you. Okay, we provide materials for you. We guide you along the way. That's what we're trying to do here. Okay. All right, how is this program structured? I'm going to break a while. I just want to be sure that everybody is listening to me. So I'm going to unmute everybody and, just say something, everyone. Okay, unmute. Okay. So can you say something? I just want to confirm everybody's hearing what I'm saying.
Hello, this is Ololade all the way from Canada.
Thank you, Lolade. Thank you. We can hear you. All right. Who else is there? Okay, let's do it this way.
Femi's here.
Let's do it this way. Let me mention names. Okay. Let me start with Damilola. Damilola, can you hear me? Okay. She's not there. Emmanuel, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but sometimes it's like it's cutting. It's like interrupting in between, breaking in between.
Okay. All right. If you have any problems like that, could you just raise your hand and we'll try to fix the problem, because I want to make sure everybody is listening to what I'm saying and we don't miss out anything. All right. So, Emmanuel, now I want everybody to say something and then introduce yourself and say from where you're listening from. Okay. So, Emmanuel, please go ahead.
My name is Emmanuel. I'm listening from Sweden.
Okay. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Femi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Can you tell us where you're listening from?
My name is Femi. I'm listening from London, England.
Okay. All right. We've had Lolade before. Lolade is listening from Canada. Can we have Gabriel? Can you hear us? Okay. It doesn't seem like Gabriel can hear us, but it looks like he's there. Bimisola, can you hear us? Hello, Bimisola. Okay. She's not. We have Kenny Day. Can you hear us?
Hello, Gbemi speaking. I can hear you.
All right, good. Thank you. All right, Gbemi, where are you listening from?
My phone?
Where are you listening from? I mean, what country?
UK.
Right, okay. All right, thank you very much, Gbemisola. Gabriel, can you hear us? Okay, Gabriel can't. All right. Kennedy, can Kennedy hear us? Okay, it doesn't seem like he can hear us either. All right. So, well, just so you know, this session is being recorded. So I will.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Yeah, I talked to Kennedy. He told me he was with us, like he was hearing us.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
I don't know why I couldn't respond.
Okay. All right. No problem. Thank you very much for that. So just for your notice, we're recording this session, so we'll make the video available to you, and we'll let you know how you can gain access to it afterwards, just in case you miss anything along the line and you need to go back to see it. All right. So let's proceed. Now, how this program is structured. There are two categories. We have every day and we have every week. Now, what do we do every day, and what do I mean by that? There are study materials that you have access to, and you are expected to finish a set of things within a week. So every day we expect you to study something every day. Now we have assignments for you to do per day. Okay, and then there is a 15 minutes stand-up session which we intend to be doing via Skype every day. Now it is not, we understand that people are working and everything, so it is not, you're not expected to call in or to be on a Skype call. It's a group of Skype users that we'll put together, and we will make it available for chat. So if during the 15-minute stand-up, what we expect you to talk about is the progress you're making. Progress in terms of your study materials, progress in terms of assignment, and if there are any problems whatsoever, if you have any blockers, we want to know about it before we meet again on a Saturday like this. We want to know about it so that you don't have any blockers at all. You don't have anything to drag you behind. If there is need for a mentor, and if I say mentor, what do I mean by that? Mentor could be myself. Mentor could be somebody that we have trained in the past that has now become an expert that we are confident in. These are mentors that I will be referring to anytime I mention mentor. So we can organize, time. If it's so difficult that you probably can't get to resolve the issue by mere description, we can log on to your computer and help you fix the problem. So this is part of the promises that we're making because you're registered on this course. Now, every week, this is what we expect. Hands-on session like this. We'll go into a lot of practical stuff and we'll be doing hands-on. Now, I don't expect you to take down any notes so you don't miss out anything. Just listen, sit back, listen. There's video that you can watch at the end of the program, at the end of the day, that you can watch again. So you don't need to worry yourself about taking down notes or anything. Then project review. Now, we will give you a project to do by the end of before we conclude the whole training category. So as a beginner class, for example, there's a project. For intermediate and expert, there are projects that you will be doing. So for this level, it's just one project. But for other categories, there are more than one project that we're expected to complete end to end, from start to finish. So this is how the program is structured, and we're expected to get the best out of it. Now, how can I achieve the best from this program? Your assignment. We want to make sure that you always do your assignment. Discipline. You need to discipline yourself. If you need to research, you have to research. Researching is part of the things that you need to be doing from time to time. Don't rely on the things that we train you on only. Do your own research. If we teach you about concepts, we will try as much as possible to simplify it. And then afterwards, we expect you to go on Google, go elsewhere, pick up a book, read. Do your research. This is how you can achieve the best from this training. You need to be disciplined. You need to discipline yourself. All right? You need to discipline yourself in terms of studying, in terms of researching, and in terms of doing your assignment. I promise you, you will not regret this. All right. Moving on. Now, we're going into the training proper now, okay? And we want to start from the very, very basic of computing. They're very, very, very basic. And the first question is, what is information technology? I've been hearing this. What is it about? Now, there's a definition up there saying the study or use of systems, especially computers and telecommunications, for storing, retrieving, and sending information. Simply, that is what IT is all about. Now, it's more robust, it's more complex, it's a lot more than that, but in a nutshell, this is what IT means. So if you think about your mobile handset, for example, your telecommunication company, BT or EE or whatnot, what they are doing is basically using computers to store, to retrieve, and send information, period. Regardless the kind of information. We're not saying business information only. Even computers, your phones, they generate data that are not just readable to humans. And there are people who use this data for different things. For analysis, you want to send them around. You want to store them. You want to retrieve them. Okay? So information technology really is the study in terms of those who study it, or the use for business or for whatsoever use, especially computers and telecommunications, for storing, retrieving, and sending information. You don't have to know more than this. We don't expect you to cram any definition here. You're not writing an exam. Yes, you would write an exam if you choose to do Microsoft certification, for example. But what I'm saying in essence is, you don't need to cram these definitions. Just know them. All right. Okay. Next one, what is a computer? Now, it sounds like a silly question. Of course, everybody in this age and time knows what a computer is, but we still need to talk about it because we want to take things from the scratch. So a computer basically is what you're looking at. The monitor, the engine on the side, the mouse, the keyboard, the whole of this thing, or if it's a laptop, you know what a laptop is. Sorry, we don't have an image for a laptop here, but I'll update this slide later and put a laptop there for those who have not seen what a laptop looks like. But typically, if we're saying information technology and the use of systems, this is what we mean. The use of computer, okay, for storing, for retrieving and sending information. Now, there are certain things that I have highlighted as the resources for computer. The reason why I have highlighted this is because these are the ones that are core and important to you as an analyst or an SQL database professional in the course of your career. You need to be cognizant. You need to be more aware of these computer resources, even though there are so much more, but these four are very, very important. And I just want to introduce you to them. I just want you to be aware of them. Now, CPU, let's start from there. The CPU, as some of you already know, is the part of the computer that, you know, is typically referred to as the brain of the computer. That is where the processing is. That's why it's called Central Processing Unit. Okay? Anything that you do with the computer is being processed by the CPU. And if you open up your computer, this is what you will see. You'll see the CPU like, you know, like chips like this. If you buy a laptop and you see Intel Core, you know, all these things you're looking at, they're referring to the CPU. And there are different types in terms of their power, in terms of the capacity of what they can do. So you need to be aware of this, because by the time you start working with databases, the CPU will be processing the programs that you write, the programs that you use, the things that your interference with the computer is being processed by the CPU. Memory. Now, computers need memory, just like human beings. We have our brains, right? We have our memory. We need somewhere to store data. We need somewhere to store things, okay? And that's the memory of the computer. A lot of people confuse memory and the disk, because at the end of the day, they both store data. But the difference between the two is the memory is where you store your information. It could be temporary, it could be permanent. The most common one is the RAM. There are two types, but the one I want you to focus more on is the RAM. There's the ROM, ROM, but this is the one I want you to focus more attention on. This is the one that is more peculiar to you. And it stores data temporarily. That's why it's called random access memory. Okay, so what do we mean by it stores information temporarily? If you put data in it today, possibly you won't find it there tomorrow because it's temporary. Okay, it's not meant to store data permanently, but it is the fastest in terms of speed. It is the fastest place to store your information in terms of retrieval or storage. All right, so it is very critical and important to you as a database professional, and this will make more sense to you later on as we proceed. Now we have the hard disk. Think about your external drive that you connect to your laptop, or think about the disk on your computer. You know, you buy a computer and they say it has 1 terabyte of storage capacity. That's the hard disk we're talking about here. It could be in form of a CD. Gone are the days that they use floppy disk, all right? But the disk uses you know, it's typically a magnetic disk because it uses all this magnetic technology to store its data. So the term hard disk itself is used to distinguish from soft floppy disks. All right, so the hard disk holds more data than the floppy disk. That's correct. It also holds more data than the RAM that we talked about earlier on. However, to access the data, it is faster for RAM than the hard disk. So I need you to start understanding the differences between these two from this stage as we progress onward. Now, computer network. This is also important in this age and time because we have the www, the website. I mean the internet, not website, the internet today. The internet that you see is the network. Now think about the internet as a place where all the computers in this world are being connected together. If you type google.com, what you're typically doing is connecting to a computer called Google. All right. If you type anything 3xpoint.com, what you're typically doing is connecting to a computer called 3xpoint.com. Now, there are things that connect these things together. You can see in this image on the right, it has wires connecting everything together. Now, we have the wireless connection as well. Now, anything that helps computers to connect together is the network. And it is very crucial to your understanding as well as you progress in this training. All right, so I'm bringing this concept to you gradually because they are very important. Anything that you see on the screen is important for your understanding. Now let's now move into database, and gradually we're getting there. Okay, and things will start taking shape. We'll start putting things together. All right, what is a database? Now, there's another thing there. What is a database management system? And the last one there, what is a relational database management system? Now, you're going to come across these things a lot, and you should be able to identify them. Otherwise, you will mix things up and refer to one than the other. Okay, so I'm going to resolve that mystery right now and differentiate between all of them for you for clarity. If you have any doubts or any questions whatsoever, just raise your hand and let me know. Okay, and then I will mute you to talk. Now, let's start with the first one. What is a database? A database is a collection of information that is organized so that it can be easily accessed, managed, and updated. So you open an Excel file, for example, you store something there. Okay, you open a text file, a notepad on your computer, you store something there. That's a database. The fact that you can store something in it, update it, retrieve it, delete it, do whatever, that is a database. Now, before the use of database in terms of software, we used to keep files on the file systems like this in cabinets, and like you're looking at on the right hand side. Now, banks used to do this as well. They have files. They organize them. Some still do this today. These are flat file systems where people manually manage databases like this. And this will lead us to the next one, which is a database management system. So, a computer software for creating and managing databases. It allows you to create, retrieve, update, and manage data. So when you now start seeing this image you're looking at, this cabinet you're looking at, if you now start seeing it in terms of computers or in terms of a software, then you're talking about a management system, something that can help you to manage your database, the place in which you store, the place in which you retrieve, the place in which you update your data. That is a management system. So if it's a software that helps you to do these things, then it's a management system. Okay, the last one, what is a relational database management system? Now, looking at this, if I were you, will make me start thinking, okay, if there is database management system and there is relational database management system, that means there are other kinds of management systems. And we're talking about relational database management system. So I need to be able to prove to you why we're talking about relational database management system and not any other kind of management system, right? So we'll talk about that. We'll get there. But first, let's talk about relational database management system. Okay. Now, I said, think of DBMS. Now, we've started playing with abbreviations because this is common in the world of IT. I promise you, you will come across a lot of abbreviations: DBMS, RAC, DML, DDL, DCL, TCL. There are loads of abbreviations that you will come across, but you don't need to cram any one of them because it will come naturally to you, because as we're talking, we'll talk about what they mean, and henceforth we'll be referring to their abbreviations. Okay. Now I said think of DBMS in a relational way. DBMS is database management system. So think about it in a relational way. Then what is relation then? If I said think about database management system in a relational way, then what is a relation? Or what do we even mean by relational way? Okay, let's go into relational theory. Relational theory is a mathematical concept for people who are from mathematical background or statistics or anything. Now don't fret. We're not doing mathematics here. Okay? You're not going to be doing mathematics. But because computer is based on mathematics, we will still have to say a few things about it. But we're not doing anything calculation whatsoever. We're just going to explain some concepts and that's it. All right. So there are mathematical concepts that relational theory is based upon. And I've mentioned 5 of them. So number 1 is set theory. Some of us that did mathematics in school would have come across set as a topic. And it's not different for what we're talking about here. Okay. A relational database management system is based on set theory, simple as. And before I delve further into set theory, let me take a step back into relational theory. Now, relational theory is simply a framework that believes that properties of an object are only meaningful when they are related to other objects. What do I mean by this? Let me show you. I'm going to minimize this this slide now and do something. Okay. Now, let's separate them from each other. Have a look at this. This says DA, and the DA is written inside a box, a square. Okay. Now, looking at it alone doesn't make any sense to me. Da, what does that mean? Nothing. But by the time I relate them together, it becomes something. And it becomes Dari. My name is Dari. Okay, so if you look at that, you can easily say, oh, it's Dari. Dari is my name, or it means a name of a person. Oh, it means the courage to do something. I dare you to do this. I dare you to do that. It could mean so many things, but you can start making sense to it as a result of joining them together. That is what we mean by relational theory. So it says It is a framework. All right. It's a framework that believes properties of objects are only meaningful when they're related to other objects. So both of them are separate objects. DA is an object. RE is an object. Individually, they make no sense. When you bring them together, they make a sense. That's what we're talking about here. That's what relational theory is saying. Now, the arrows down here says, okay, the object here is a square shape. Yes, we know that. Its properties are the alphabet. Yes, we've seen that. DA and RE. When combined together, its meaning can be interpreted to become a name of a person or the courage to do something. I'm going to send the whole of these slides to you after the session, so you can go back to it. You can, look through it and do whatever you want with it. All right. So we understand what relational theory means, okay? Now we're going to go back into set theory, because we can only understand what a relational database management system is by the time we understand each of these things. Okay, set theory. Set theory, a collection of distinct objects. That's just what it is. Now we're going to do some role-playing here. No, not role-playing, but we're going to ask some questions here. All right. Is this a set? I'm going to unmute everybody, okay? And I will call your names to say what your response is individually so everyone can hear. Okay, my question is, the keys you're looking at, Emmanuel, the first question goes to you. It's a set.
What was your question? Is it a set?
Yes, the keys you're looking at. Is it a set?
Yeah, of course. It's a collection of different keys.
Okay, thank you very much. Emmanuel says it's a set. All right. Let's proceed. Femi, is this a set?
You mean the keys?
Yes, the keys, just the keys.
Yeah.
Okay, Femi believes it's a set. Okay, we'll go on. Olalade, is this a set?
Yes.
Okay, Olalade believes it's a set. Damilola, is this a set? Okay, she's not there. Gabriel, is this a set? He's not there. Okay. Bimisola, is this a set? Okay, she's not there either. Who else do we have? Kende, is this a set? Okay, he's not there either. Well, oh, okay. Gabriel says I'm here, but we can't hear you. Okay. Do you want to try again? Gabriel, is this a set? Okay, it looks like some people don't have microphones, so that's why we can't hear them. Okay, I get that. All right, no problem. All right, so for those who has responded, thank you. Let's continue. Before I answer that question on whether it's a set or not, let's talk about the other one. How about this? The other one where we have a lot of people in the class. Does it look like a set to you? I mean, a set of people in a classroom, just like we have our own session right here. A set of all these names that I mentioned earlier on in this session for beginners into SQL career. So we are a set of people in a class. Similarly, this picture we're looking at is a set of people in that class. If I asked you again, I believe everyone will say yes, it's a set. No problem. Now, we have another set of numbers below. Set A, set B, and set C. We have 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 9. For set B, we have 1, 2, 3, 6, 1, and 8. For set C, we have 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 1. Now, let me make this clear. A set is a collection of distinct objects. That's what we said. Distinct objects. In as much as this bunch of keys is a set, in as much as this bunch of keys is a set, they may not be distinct. We can have one or two keys in here that can open the same door. I believe everyone can testify to that. Yes. But look at the people in this classroom. Everyone is distinct. The man on the white shirt is different from the man wearing the black suit next to him. As a matter of fact, all the people wearing white shirts in this classroom are distinct, regardless if they're wearing the same white shirt. So, a collection of distinct objects. So what we're saying in essence is, for a database management system to be relational, it has to be based on set theory. When we're talking about sets, we're talking about a collection of distinct objects. So look at sets A, B, and C. If you look carefully, set B has 2 instances of number 1. That means it's not a set, even though it has numbers together in a curly bracket to say that, oh, I'm putting a set of numbers together. But indeed, it's not a set. Okay, so set A and set C can be regarded as a set because they have distinct values. So that's what we mean when we say set theory. Okay, let's move on to predicate. What do we mean by predicate? Evaluate expressions that evaluate to true or false. So we have some examples down here. Predicates. We have like, we have between, we have in, we have not in, equals, exists, greater than. These are predicates. So if you look at the statements in front of each of them, London is like New York. It's going to evaluate to either true or false. So that's what we mean by predicate. Anything that has just 2 exit points, true or false. If I say London is between New York, it's either is right or wrong, nothing else. So predicate evaluates to true or false, and these things will start making sense to you later on. By the time we start writing programs and we start writing SQL statements and queries and all this programming stuff, you will start seeing what we mean by predicate more, and it will make more sense to you. Attributes. What do we mean by attributes? Think about it as a characteristics of something. So in database management system, it is the field or column on the table. Now we're beginning to talk about table, and I haven't even introduced you to that yet. But let me tell you, the data is stored in tables. If you look at your Excel sheet, it looks like a table because it has columns and it has rows. I believe everybody is familiar with Excel sheet, right? So what do we then mean by attribute? Don't let these things confuse you. In database management system, you hear people say things like attribute and tuple. What they're really saying is columns and rows. Simple. These are the things that make things become complex to people at the end of the day. But in the real world, in the outside world, it means column and row. In database management system, we call it attribute and tuple. So an attribute is a characteristics of something. You can sometimes see it as a field or column on a table. Okay, now let's move on to tuples, simply represented by records or rows in a database table. So sometimes you can hear people say record or rows. Tuple, they all mean the same thing. And finally, relation, a combination of both attribute and tuple. We're talking about the table itself is a relation. is simply represented by a table in a database. It's a set of tuples and attributes. Okay? Now let's take everything together. Now, how did we get here? We started talking about what is a database, what is a database management system, what is a relational database management system, and we started talking about tuples or relations and attributes and whatnot. Let's take everything together. A relational database management system is a database management system based on relational theory. So there are so many other kinds of, well, not so many other kinds of database management system. There is just one other type of database management system different from relational theory, okay? But what we are focused on here is the relational database management system. Forget about the other one. Now, the other one is called object-oriented database management system. So it means information is stored in the form of objects. In RDBMS, information is stored in the form of relation. And what is a relation? A relation is a table. Simple. Okay, so data is stored in tables in a relation database management system. In object-oriented database management system, data is stored in the form of objects. That's just what it is. So we'll have a little table here showing you ID, make, model, derivative. Those are your columns, your field, your attributes. And then we have ID that has number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way down. Those are your tuples, your rows, your records. So if you want to go into a database, this is how you're going to find data. Okay, let's proceed. So now we know what a relational database management system is, right? We know that it's a database management system based on relational theories. Now, there are types of RDBMS itself, or there are implementations of RDBMS. Now, what are the types? You must have heard of Oracle. You must have heard of Microsoft SQL Server. Sorry, this is not SQL. It's meant to be, sorry, let me bring this back. It's meant to be SQL Server, not QL Server. Yes. So we're talking about Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server. We have MySQL, we have SQLite, we have PostgreSQL, we have Virtuoso, MaxDB, Sybase, Microsoft Access, FoxPro, FileMaker, Interbase, Firebird, Panorama. You wonder that I haven't put Excel or Notepad that I mentioned before. The reason is because in as much as they are databases, they are not database management system. They cannot, you know, do things that a database management system can do, and we'll get into that shortly. Now, then why do we choose one RDBMS over another? Why do I go for Oracle rather than Microsoft SQL Server, or why do I go for MySQL rather than MaxDB? It's simple and straightforward. Things like industry rating. The industry rates certain RDBMS implementation higher than the others. Some of them are more expensive than the others. Some of them have more skilled people that can work on them than the others. So a company will decide, okay, we're going to use this one because we believe we can easily find people who can use them for our use. All right. Now, another thing is the kinds of data that they keep. There are some implementations that do very good job in terms of keeping text, audio files, video files, and all kinds of data. There are some that in terms of capacity, because anything that has, that starts small has the tendency to become larger. So if a database management system is doing well for you because you have a data of just 100 rows, now there's possibility that 100 rows can turn into 100,000 rows, and 100 million rows, and 100 billion rows. Now, would your database RDBMS be able to manage your data by the time it gets to 100 billion rows. So if you envisage that you will get to that point, you have to make a decision that I'm going to go for an RDBMS that can do the job for me. Again, now I'm going to remind you again, you don't have to cram all these things. You don't have to memorize any of these things, okay? They're just there for you, for information, for you to know, okay? Now, concurrency of use. What do we mean by that? A number of people might want to work on the same data at the same time. Some RDBMS have done a very good job in terms of allowing multiple people to work on a particular data at the same time. All right, so this is also one of the reasons why people choose one over the other. Integrity enforcement. Later on, we're going to start talking about integrity, not in today's session, but over time, we'll talk about integrity in terms of database. We have constraints that are being set to enforce integrity. You want to make sure that your database or your data has integrity. It's just like saying, just as we're selling our program to you to come and learn, and then I say to you, oh, 3x point, we don't have integrity. What would your first response be? You want to run away. You don't want to put your money into something that has no integrity. That's just what we're saying here. If your database has no integrity, you can't rely on it. You need to have a data that you can rely on to mean that if you store your data, if you expect your data to contain data for, let's say, it's a school, for example, it's a school, and we're keeping data for people in primary 1 or in year 1, as the case may be. Now, there's an expectation that people in year 1 should be between the age of, let's say, age 5 and 7, for example. I'm not sure what the actual age is, but let's just say age 5 and 7. Now, if you now open up your database and you find people with the age of 35, what would you think about your data? The first thing that will come to you is, my data is incorrect. That's what we're talking about. Now, RDBMS implementations, some of them have done a very good job in helping you to keep data and assure you of integrity. They have ways they implement this by enforcing constraints and different things that can give that functionality. Now, maturity is another thing. Some RDBMS has spent, like Microsoft, for example, has spent over 20 years, has 20 years of existence. Oracle has more. So some people rate Oracle more than Microsoft because it's mature. Microsoft is obviously, SQL Server is more mature than some other ones. Okay, so these are some of the things. And advanced features, apart from the fact that you can use it to store your database, these RDBMS implementations also have areas in which they have advanced features that they use to sell their product. For example, some of them enable you to perform encryption on your data, to be able to encrypt your data such that nobody without access that gets hold or gains access into your database cannot just see your data, right? Some people might just want to buy that RDBMS because it has that functionality. There's so many advanced features which they sell their products with. All right, now let's move on. How can I access my data? We've talked about SQL in terms of we've talked about database management system, database, and all these things. But how do I gain access into it? Now we're moving gradually into SQL. Now, look at this. We have 6 boxes in front of you, and we're going to, we've simplified a lot of thoughts into these boxes, and we're going to explain them one after the other. Now, there's a little bit of history here. In 1970, there's a man called Dr. E.F. Cott. He's a British national, and he used to work with IBM. He wrote a paper called Relational Model of data. And that formed the basis for RDBMS. Because before that time, people used to keep their data in flat files in different other ways. Okay? There was no database management system that was based on relational model. But this man wrote a paper that gave people the insight into RDBMS, and that formed the basis for RDBMS, which companies today build solutions on. Okay. Now, we have structured query language. What is it? What is this language? We've been saying SQL, SQL, SQL. What does it mean? It's just the language that we use to access the data in the database. All right. So if I need to access a database, for example, I'm not just going to pick up a file and open it. I need to access it by speaking the language that the database understands, and that language is SQL. Now, this SQL was first developed by IBM, and it's easy to understand why, because Dr. E.F. Codd was working with IBM, and IBM created the very first language for RDBMS, and they called it Structured English Query Language. It used to be pronounced SQL, and that's why even though now it's SQL, a lot of people still refer to it as SQL. And after 1970, in 1986, moving forward, the language became a standard and it became recognized by ANSI. ANSI is American National Standard Institute. It became, something more official that became regulated, and they named it SQL or SQL 86. It doesn't matter how you pronounce it. SQL, SQL is fine. SQL 86. In 1987, it became adopted by ISO. ISO, as we all know, is the International Organization for Standardization, and they accepted it. It became a standard. Over the years, this has been, used, and they've regulated SQL, and the most recent version of the regulated SQL is SQL 2011. That was the last time it was regulated, and they made it official in 2011. Now, the last box says every RDBMS vendor developed their own dialects of SQL. So what are we saying here? We know now that SQL was first developed by IBM. Okay, that's fine. And later on, it became a standard adopted by ANSI and ISO, which means if any company is going to develop a software to perform the duties of an RDBMS, must adhere to the ISO standard for SQL, or ANSI, ANSI, American National Standard Institute, standard for SQL. That is a standard. What that means in essence is, if Oracle uses the SQL that Oracle understands, Microsoft SQL Server should also be able to understand it. That's what we're talking about here, because there is a standard. Any company that decides to do business, to go into the RDBMS business, will have to follow this standard. That's fine. Now, we're saying that each of these companies now have their own dialect. So they've added some more functionalities. They've added some more things that are outside the standard. And they named it whatever they want to name it. So for example, Microsoft has named their own version of SQL to be Transact SQL. And most people call it T-SQL. Oracle developed their own, and they called it Procedural Language SQL, PL/SQL. So if you are somebody that decides to go to the Oracle world, you want to learn the standard SQL plus PL/SQL. That's what it means. If you've decided you want to be a professional on Microsoft products, then you're going to learn the standard SQL and at the same time TSQL, Transact SQL. Some people are very versed on both platforms or even more. Okay, now don't start saying, oh, so I have to learn one thing first and learn the other. No, it's not that difficult. It's not something that you're going to, start worrying yourself over. It is just an extension. That's just what it is. It's an extension of SQL. It's still the same language, but an extension that provides more functionality. But we will get to see more of these things in practice. Now, this first session, I know you probably saying, oh, there are too many slides and everything, but this foundational knowledge is really important. Otherwise, if we start going into practicals now, you get lost, you get confused, and you will appreciate this. All right, this is EF code that we're talking about. If you probably want to have a visual idea of what the man looked like, that's EF code. Okay, now let's start going into T-SQL proper. Now this program is focused more on Microsoft's product, so we're not going to be saying anything about Oracle or MySQL or Sybase or any of those things. We'll be focusing on T-SQL. Okay, now T-SQL is a set-based and declarative language. What do we mean by declarative language? It means it describes what you want and not how to get it. I'm going to, by the time we end this session, I'm going to, or rather after this particular slide, I'm just going to open up a server for you to have an idea of these things that we're talking about, what an RDBMS is and all that. I'll show you so you can get a pictorial view of what we're saying. So the language is declarative. It's just going to say what he wants. Or you as an individual trying to query the database, you're just going to tell it what you want. How it's going to get it is none of your business. You don't have to worry about that. The RDBMS will take care of that. Now, T-SQL uses groups of commands known as DDL, DML, DCL, and TCL. I told you, you're going to come across a lot of abbreviations, but don't worry, we've got you covered. The first one, DDL. DDL is abbreviation for Data Definition Language. All right. Before we go into all that in detail, let me bring this up for you. Okay. So this is a server, and I'm going to open up SQL Server, and this is what it looks like. And if I say new query, now if you look at this screen you're looking on right now, there's a node here called databases. Now these are the databases on this server. To get data out of this server, I need to write SQL. And by the time I tell it what I want, it's going to do the job of getting it. That's what we mean by declarative. I'll just tell it what I want and it will bring it back to me in the form of a table. Okay, we'll come back to that. So DDL, we're saying, is a data definition language. Anything that defines something is what we mean by DDL. And there are sub-languages to it, which is create, alter, and drop. Do not cram anything. Do not try to remember anything right now. Just follow along, okay? You will see that these things will come to you naturally over time. There's another one called DML. DML is abbreviation of data manipulation language. Anything that has to do with your manipulating, your editing, your updating, your inserting, your selecting, your deleting. That's what we mean by DML. Then there is DCL. DCL is an abbreviation of data control language. It's used to control access to the data. So if you see anything like grant, revoke, deny, all these things are control languages that we use to control how you gain access or who gains access to the database. You'll see more of these things later on. There's also the TCL. TCL is the abbreviation for transactional control language. We will do a lot about transactions later on. But where you see commit or rollback, you will know that you're talking about TCL, which is data control language. I'm going to send this slide to you after the session, and you can go through the things that we're talking about. All right, now we've actually ended the session for today. I'm not going to say anything more because there are too many things that we have said today, and I want it to just stick with you. Now, this is a testimonial of somebody that we've been training that got a job recently. Look at the date, May 13th, just some days ago. And I've had to remove the full name and the full address. He lives in America and he got a job. He started learning this. He hasn't even spent up to a year. He does not have a degree in IT, but he did a lot of work. He did a lot of study. He did a lot of assignments. A lot of training went into it, but it paid off. And he's grateful. He's at some point we'll bring him on to be a mentor as well. If anybody has problems or anything, he will be, available to help and do a number of things for us. But I decided to bring this up just to encourage people that, look, we are here to help you. We're here to help you, progress as this is concerned. Okay, so next steps. What do we have to do next? Now, for the rest of this week, these are the things that I expect you to do on the left. So I'll give you access to the study materials that you'll be needing, and you will be expected to do some assignment. The assignments are actually focused around setting up your environment like this, like what I brought up before, installing this. Let me just do a quick demo for you to bring out the data from this database. Okay, let's say human resources. And I execute. I've told it what I want. Okay, I've told the system what I want. And how it got it out, it's up to it. Declarative, select. Star means everything from this table. This is the name of the table. That's simply what I've just done. And it's going to bring, now look at this. Remember we talked about attributes. The ones on top of it, login ID, organizational node, job title, birth dates, all these things, marital status. These are the columns or the attributes or field. These are the records, the tuples, the rows. And this is a typical database holding data. And remember we talked about relation the other time, that by the time you bring two things together, that's when it gives a lot of meaning to it. We will get to that later on when we start talking about joins, and you'll see what we mean more about that. So for the rest of this week, I'll expect you, I'll send you materials on how to set up your environment, how to install your server, how to do a lot of things, and then how to get going with your assignment. So preparation for installation, creating service account, installing SQL Server, blah, 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 everything. And on the right, I need to also tell you, you're going to log in into lynda.com. That's where you get the rest of your study materials for the week before we meet again next week. Obviously, for those who have confirmed registration with us, we will give them access to lynda.com. Then you'll complete your assignment before we meet again next week. During the week, we have stand-up sessions. And if you need to request for support, you have our email, okay? And from the stand-up session we do every day on Skype, you can raise your questions, your problems, whatever issues you have, you can raise it there. Mentorship will introduce you to mentors along the line, so that if you have issues, you can send in questions. People will be there to answer to your questions, and we can progress with that. Socializing, I talked about Skype, and getting help from Google and YouTube. If you have any problems, anything you're trying to understand, all you need to do sometimes is just go to Google, type it in there, or go to YouTube. You will see demonstrations. These are things that can quickly accelerate your learning, your progress. So that's the end of today's session, and I hope it's been very informative for you, and I hope to see you next week. So if you have any questions, don't forget, send us an email, and we'll get back to you. Is there any question before we go? I'm gonna unmute everybody. Or no, I'll mute everybody still, but if you have any question, you can just raise your hand so I can unmute you to say something. Is there any question? Okay, Emmanuel has a question, so I'm going to unmute Emmanuel to talk. All right, go ahead.
Well, it was when you talked about this code man or something, the British man.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You talked about the British man that wrote a paper about this relational database management.
Yes.
So my question is, do you have idea how does it work before then? I mean, before he came up with this
yes
paper, do you have idea how it worked then?
Yes. I'm going to show you there. I talked about it before, but let me go back. Before there was a relational database management system, this is how people used to keep their data. Let me look for it. Okay, there. Now, people used to keep their data like this, in files, in cabinets,
Okay.
Yeah, people who even had computers will use things like Notepad. Okay, you can keep things in Notepad or Excel file or anything. It was just, a complex way of keeping data. For example, you cannot easily query this cabinet to quickly give you like what I did before. I came here and I asked it for details of an employee, and within less than 1 second, I got what I was looking for. Now, you can imagine how you would have gone through this cabinet to get that out. So it was really difficult. So that's how they used to deal with data back then. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. All right. So I haven't seen any hand raised at all. So I will take it that everyone is happy, and I'm grateful to that. I'm happy. We're going to, move on to more complex things, more complex things, but we'll try to simplify them. And I wish you all the best. Thank you very much for coming for this session, and hopefully we'll see you again next week. All right. Bye-bye.